Chapter 21. Now the men of Israel had sworn in Mizpah, saying, There shall not any of us give his daughter to Benjamin as a wife. The people came to Bethel and sat there until evening before God, and lifted up their voices and wept. They said, O Lord, the God of Israel, why has this happened in Israel, that there should be today one tribe lacking in Israel? It happened on the next day that the people rose early, and built there an altar, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. The children of Israel said, Who is there among all the tribes of Israel who didn't come up in the assembly of the Lord? For they had made a great oath concerning him who didn't come up to the Lord to Mizpah, saying, He shall surely be put to death. The children of Israel grieved for Benjamin their brother, and said, There is one tribe cut off from Israel this day. What shall we do for wives for those who remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them of our daughters for wives? They said, What one is there of the tribes of Israel who didn't come up to the Lord to Mizpah? Behold, there came none to the camp from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For when the people were numbered, behold, there were none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead there. The congregation sent there 12,000 men of the most valiant, and commanded them, saying, Go and strike the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the women and the little ones. This is the thing you shall do. You shall utterly destroy every male, and every woman who has lain with a man. They found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins, who had not known man by lying with him, and they brought them to the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. The whole congregation sent and spoke to the children of Benjamin who were in the rock of Rimmon, and proclaimed peace to them. Benjamin returned at that time, and they gave them the women whom they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Gilead, yet so they weren't enough for them. The people grieved for Benjamin, because that the Lord had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. Then the elders of the congregation said, What will we do for wives for those who remain, seeing the women are destroyed out of Benjamin? They said, There must be an inheritance for those who are escaped of Benjamin, that a tribe not be blotted out from Israel. However, we may not give them wives of our daughters, for the children of Israel had sworn, saying, Cursed be he who gives a wife to Benjamin. They said, Behold, there is a feast of the Lord from year to year in Shiloh, which is on the north of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goes up from Bethel to Shechem, and on the south of Labonah. They commanded the children of Benjamin, saying, Go and lie in wait in the vineyards, and see, and look if the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in the dances. Then you come out of the vineyards, and catch you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. It shall be, when their fathers or their brothers come to complain to us, that we will say to them, Grant them graciously to us, because we didn't take for each man his wife in battle. Neither did you give them to them, else you would now be guilty. The children of Benjamin did so, and took them wives according to their number of those who danced, whom they carried off, and they went and returned to their inheritance, and built the cities and lived in them. The children of Israel departed there at that time, every man to his tribe and to his family, and they went out from there every man to his inheritance. In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. The Book of Ruth, Chapter 1. It happened in the days when the judges judged, that there was a famine in the land. A certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. They came into the country of Moab and continued there. Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. They took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth, and they lived there about 10 years. Mahlon and Chilion died, both of them, and the woman alone was left of her 2 children and of her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. She went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each of you to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead, and with me. The Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. They said to her, No, but we will return with you to your people. Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters, why will you go with me? Have I yet sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should even have a husband tonight, and should also bear sons, would you therefore wait until they were grown? Would you therefore stay from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieves me much for your sakes, for the hand of the Lord is gone forth against me. They lifted up their voice and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth joined with her. She said, Behold, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people, and to her God. Return you after your sister-in-law. Ruth said, Don't entreat me to leave you, and to return from following after you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge, and your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, will I die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and I. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, she left off speaking to her. So they 2 went until they came to Bethlehem. It happened, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them, and the women said, Is this Naomi? She said to them, Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord has brought me home again empty. Why do you call me Naomi, seeing the Lord has testified against me, and that the Almighty has afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess her daughter-in-law with her, who returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. Chapter 2. Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, Let me now go to the field, and glean among the ears of grain after him in whose sight I shall find favor. She said to her, Go, my daughter. She went, and came, and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and she happened to come to the portion of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the family of Elimelech. Behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said to the reapers, The Lord be with you. They answered him, The Lord bless you. Then said Boaz to his servant who was set over the reapers, Whose young lady is this? The servant who was set over the reapers answered, It is the Moabite lady who came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. She said, Please let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came, and has continued even from the morning until now, except that she stayed a little in the house. Then said Boaz to Ruth, Don't you hear, my daughter? Don't go to glean in another field, neither pass from here, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let your eyes be on the field that they reap, and go after them. Haven't I charged the young men that they shall not touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels, and drink of that which the young men have drawn. Then she fell on her face, and bowed herself to the ground, and said to him, Why have I found favor in your sight, that you should take knowledge of me, seeing I am a foreigner? Boaz answered her, It has fully been shown me all that you have done to your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, and how you have left your father and your mother, and the land of your birth, and have come to a people that you didn't know before. The Lord will recompense your work, and a full reward will be given you of the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you are come to take refuge. Then she said, Let me find favor in your sight, my lord, because you have comforted me, and because you have spoken kindly to your handmaid, though I am not as one of your handmaidens. At mealtime Boaz said to her, Come here and eat of the bread, and dip your morsel in the vinegar. She sat beside the reapers, and they passed her parched grain, and she ate and was satisfied. When she was risen up again to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, Let her glean even among the sheaves, and don't reproach her. Also pull out some for her from the bundles, and leave it, and let her glean, and don't rebuke her. So she gleaned in the field until evening, and she beat out that which she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. She took it up, and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her that which she had left after she was satisfied. Her mother-in-law said to her, Where have you gleaned today, and where have you worked? Blessed be he who did take knowledge of you. She had shown her mother-in-law with whom she had worked, and said, The man's name with whom I work today is Boaz. Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, Blessed be he of the Lord, who has not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. Naomi said to her, The man is a close relative to us, one of our near kinsmen. Ruth the Moabitess said, Yes, he said to me, You shall keep close by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, It is good, my daughter, that you go out with his maidens, and that they not let you go into any other field. So she kept close by the maidens of Boaz to glean to the end of the barley harvest and of wheat harvest, and she lived with her mother-in-law. Chapter 3. Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Now isn't Boaz our kinsman, with whose maidens you were? Behold, he winnows barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash yourself, therefore, and anoint yourself, and put your clothing on, and go down to the threshing floor, but don't make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. It shall be, when he lies down, that you shall mark the place where he shall lie, and you shall go in, and uncover his feet, and lay down, and he will tell you what you shall do. She said to her, All that you say I will do. She went down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law told her. When Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain, and she came softly, and uncovered his feet, and laid herself down. It happened at midnight that the man was afraid, and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. He said, Who are you? She answered, I am Ruth, your handmaid. Spread therefore your skirt over your handmaid, for you are a near kinsman. He said, Blessed are you by the Lord, my daughter. You have shown more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as you didn't follow the young men, whether poor or rich. Now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do to you all that you say, for all the city of my people does know that you are a worthy woman. Now it is true that I am a near kinsman. However, there is a kinsman nearer than I. Stay this night, and it shall be in the morning, that if he will perform to you the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to you, then I will do the part of a kinsman to you, as the Lord lives. Lie down now until the morning. She lay at his feet until the morning. She rose up before one could discern another, for he said, Let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. He said, Bring the mantle that is on you, and hold it. And she held it. And he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her, and he went into the city. When she came to her mother-in-law, she said, Who are you, my daughter? She told her all that the man had done to her. She said, These 6 measures of barley he gave me, for he said, Don't go empty to your mother-in-law. Then she said, Sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter will fall out, for the man will not rest until he has finished the thing this day. Chapter 4. Now Boaz went up to the gate, and sat down there. And behold, the near kinsman of whom Boaz spoke came by, to whom he said, Ho, such a one! Turn aside, sit down here. He turned aside and sat down. He took 10 men of the elders of the city, and said, Sit down here, and they sat down. He said to the near kinsman, Naomi, who has come back out of the country of Moab, is selling the parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech's. I thought to disclose it to you, saying, Buy it before those who sit here and before the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides you, and I am after you. He said, I will redeem it. Then Boaz said, The day that you buy the field of the hand of Naomi, you must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead for his inheritance. The near kinsman said, I can't redeem it for myself. lest I mar my own inheritance. Take my right of redemption on you, for I can't redeem it. Now this was the custom in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging. To confirm all things, a man drew off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was the manner of attestation in Israel. So the near kinsman said to Boaz, Buy it for yourself. He drew off his shoe. Boaz said to the elders and to all the people, You are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead on his inheritance, that the name of the dead not be cut off from among his brothers, and from the gate of his place. You are witnesses this day. All the people who were in the gate and the elders said, We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman who has come into your house like Rachel and like Leah, which two built the house of Israel. And do you worthily in Ephrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem, and let your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, of the seed of which the Lord shall give you of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he went in to her, and the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. The woman said to Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a near kinsman, and let his name be famous in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life, and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons, has borne him. Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom, and became nurse to it. The women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, There is a son born to Naomi. And they named him Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now this is the history of the generations of Perez. Perez became the father of Hezron, and Hezron became the father of Ram, and Ram became the father of Amminadab, and Amminadab became the father of Nahshon, and Nahshon became the father of Salmon, and Salmon became the father of Boaz, and Boaz became the father of Obed, and Obed became the father of Jesse, and Jesse became the father of David.
After these things, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now in Jerusalem by the sheep gate there is a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of those who were sick, blind, lame, or paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel of the Lord went down at certain times into the pool and stirred up the water. Whoever stepped in first after the stirring of the water was made whole of whatever disease he had. A certain man was there who had been sick for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had been sick for a long time, he asked him, Do you want to be made well? The sick man answered him, Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I'm coming, another steps down before me. Jesus said to him, Arise, take up your mat and walk. Immediately the man was made well and took up his mat and walked. Now it was the Sabbath on that day. So the Jews said to him who was cured, It is the Sabbath. It is not lawful for you to carry the mat. He answered them, He who made me well, the same said to me, Take up your mat and walk. Then they asked him, Who is the man who said to you, Take up your mat and walk? But he who was healed didn't know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn, a crowd being in the place. Afterward Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, Behold, you are made well. Sin no more, so that nothing worse happens to you. The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. For this cause the Jews persecuted Jesus and sought to kill him, because he did these things on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered them, My Father is still working, so I am working too. For this cause, therefore, the Jews sought all the more to kill him, because he not only broke the Sabbath, but also called God his own Father, making himself equal with God. Jesus therefore answered them, Most assuredly I tell you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he sees the Father doing. For whatever things he does, these the Son also does likewise. For the Father has affection for the Son, and shows him all things that he himself does. He will show him greater works than these, that you may marvel. For as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, even so the Son also gives life to whom he desires. For the Father judges no one, but he has given all judgment to the Son, that all may honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He who doesn't honor the Son doesn't honor the Father who sent him. Most assuredly I tell you, he who hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life and doesn't come into judgment, but has passed out of death into life. Most assuredly I tell you, the hour comes, and now is, when the dead will hear the Son of God's voice, and those who hear will live. For as the Father has life in himself, even so he gave to the Son also to have life in himself. He also gave him authority to execute judgment, because he is a Son of Man. Don't marvel at this, for the hour comes in which all that are in the tombs will hear his voice, and will come out, those who have done good to the resurrection of life, and those who have done evil to the resurrection of judgment. I can of myself do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is righteous, because I don't seek my own will, but the will of my Father who sent me. If I testify about myself, my witness is not valid. It is another who testifies about me. I know that the testimony which he testifies about me is true. You have sent to John, and he has testified to the truth, but the testimony which I receive is not from man. However, I say these things that you may be saved. He was the burning and shining lamp, and you were willing to rejoice for a while in his light. But the testimony which I have is greater than that of John, for the works which the Father gave me to accomplish, the very works that I do testify about me, that the Father has sent me. The Father himself who sent me has testified about me. You have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his form. You don't have his word living in you, because you don't believe him whom he sent. You search the Scriptures, because you think that in them you have eternal life, and these are they which testify about me. Yet you will not come to me, that you may have life. I don't receive glory from men, but I know you, that you don't have God's love in yourselves. I have come in my Father's name, and you don't receive me. If another comes in his own name, you will receive him. How can you believe who receive glory from one another, and you don't seek the glory that comes from the only God? Don't think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, even Moses, on whom you have set your hope. For if you believed Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote about me. But if you don't believe his writings, how will you believe my words?
Psalm 105. Give thanks to Yahweh. Call on his name. Make his doings known among the peoples. Sing to him, sing praises to him. Tell of all his marvelous works. Glory in his holy name. Let the heart of those who seek Yahweh rejoice. Seek Yahweh and his strength. Seek his face forevermore. Remember his marvelous works that he has done, his wonders and the judgments of his mouth. You seed of Abraham his servant, you children of Jacob his chosen ones. He is Yahweh our God. His judgments are in all the earth. He has remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, the covenant which he made with Abraham, his oath to Isaac, and confirmed the same to Jacob for a statute, to Israel for an everlasting covenant, saying, To you I will give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance. When they were but a few men in number, yes, very few, and sojourners in it, they went about from nation to nation, from one kingdom to another people. He allowed no one to do them wrong. Yes, he reproved kings for their sakes. Don't touch my anointed ones. Do my prophets no harm. He called for a famine on the land. He destroyed the food supplies. He sent a man before them. Joseph was sold for a slave. They bruised his feet with shackles. His neck was locked in irons, until the time that his word happened, and Yahweh's word proved him true. The king sent and freed him, even the ruler of peoples, and let him go free. He made him lord of his house, and ruler of all his possessions, to discipline his princes at his pleasure, and to teach his elders wisdom. Israel also came into Egypt. Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. He increased his people greatly, and made them stronger than their adversaries. He turned their heart to hate his people, to conspire against his servants. He sent Moses his servant, and Aaron whom he had chosen. They performed miracles among them, and wonders in the land of Ham. He sent darkness and made it dark. They didn't rebel against his words. He turned their waters into blood, and killed their fish. Their land swarmed with frogs, even in the chambers of their kings. He spoke, and swarms of flies came, and lice in all their borders. He gave them hail for rain, with lightning in their land. He struck their vines and also their fig trees, and shattered the trees of their country. He spoke, and the locusts came, and the grasshoppers without number, ate up every plant in their land, and ate up the fruit of their ground. He struck also the firstborn in their land, the firstfruits of all their manhood. He brought them forth with silver and gold. There was not one feeble person among his tribes. Egypt was glad when they departed, for the fear of them had fallen on them. He spread a cloud for a covering, fire to give light in the night. They asked, and he brought quails, and satisfied them with the bread of the sky. He opened the rock, and waters gushed out. They ran as a river in the dry places. For he remembered his holy word, and Abraham his servant. He brought forth his people with joy, his chosen with singing. He gave them the lands of the nations. They took the labor of the peoples in possession, that they might keep his statutes and observe his laws. Praise Yah.
A truthful witness saves souls, but a false witness is deceitful. In the fear of Yahweh is a secure fortress, and he will be a refuge for his children. The fear of Yahweh is a fountain of life, turning people from the snares of death.